Hi, this is Jeff Hendrickson, and welcome to Dinner with Creatives, where we discuss ideas, collaboration, and action in the worlds of art and design. In this installment, we learn about three New York City-based creatives, each with a unique and fresh perspective on their crafts and how they bring it to the world around them. And in this section of the installment, we will be concentrating on the work of Katelyn Kopenhaver.
Our second badass for tonight is Katelyn. A 2016 SVA grad, Katelyn. Katelyn, have I been mispronouncing your last name? Kopenhaver or Kopenhaver?
Kopenhaver.
Kopenhaver. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Work examines universal issues wrought with consternation through social commentary. She exposes the subtle and not so subtle nuances in our everyday that are often overlooked and combines that with her personal experience and sometimes fears. Working in photography, video, performance, and installation, she uses text and the body to confront the viewer and place them within situations of isolation. Kopenhaver is preoccupied with societal oversight, those crucial moments that are seen but forgotten, the glimpse of an act between two people that alarms us, an instant where we ask ourselves, should I intervene? She has had numerous photography publications, exhibitions, and artist write-ups both nationally and internationally, including New York Magazine, the Brooklyn Rail, and Netflix, and is in current collaboration with jewelry company Article 22. Katelyn is based in New York City and works as a freelance photographer and artist. Everybody, I give you Katelyn Kopenhaver.
I don't have to go now, right? Because you just
yes, you have to go now.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for being here. This is really amazing. So I am a photographer and multimedia artist. I'm originally from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. I studied at the School of Visual Arts, where I predominantly focused on photography. But my senior year, I ended up exploring other conceptual work and other mediums to describe and express that work. So I have a foot in this commercial pond and a foot in this art pond. So let me show you exactly what it is I'm talking about. So I'm going to bring you to my website. Okay, here we go. So this is my website, KatelynKopenhaver.com. These are assignments that I've had with clients, brands. I'm not gonna bore you with all of this, but I just wanted to show you a couple because they're pretty fun and interesting. So this is Noah Baumbach, who is the director of the film A Marriage Story. It premiered on Netflix a couple months ago and is with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. This was a really awesome assignment, but one of the most challenging because I only had 20 minutes with this guy and I thought I had an hour. They were like, okay, you have 20 minutes, go. And we need him to smile. We have to get him to smile. And I'm like, okay, great. So, and it's misting outside and raining. So I got a smiling shot. So that was great. This was published in Netflix Q, which is a magazine that they have to highlight new movies and talent. This is another assignment called Judgments with New York Magazine. So I shot this in the hot of August heat, the hottest day of the year, it felt like. But this was an anthropologic study of people and how they hold themselves and what they wear and what that says, how that describes them and what it says about them. So this was an amazing assignment because photo director Jody Kwan knows I'm particularly interested in this and studying people and using my camera in a way to study people and have a conversation and encourage dialogue. So this was really exciting. And working as a portrait photographer, you have to be a really good problem solver. You have to be really quick on your feet. And that's a challenge I'm always willing to accept. So it's pretty amazing. So getting into more conceptual work, I'll bring you to a line of Kopenhaver, which is a series of fur coats. So the fur coats are articles of clothing that I source through thrift shops. They're always vintage. I'm not a person who condones like for buying for new, you know. So I also like to use objects in the world that already exist. So, because that's really exciting to me. So I print statements on the backs of the coats that are quite provocative and go along the idea of predation and the act of being hunted and what that means. So this is corruption walks in disguise. I was thinking about, you know, manipulative personalities and how like sociopathic and psychopathic personalities navigate the world. A wolf in sheep's clothing. This is the prey coat, which is pretty much the catalyst to this, I guess you could call it like an obsession with fur coats and making the statement and using language. My dad actually purchased this coat for me for like $10 at an auction, and I didn't wear it. It was like in a closet in my old apartment, and one day I wanted to put this phrase on a photograph and it wasn't working, and I had this moment in the lab at SVA and I was like, I gotta go get that coat, gotta go print on it. So it became this. You Are Not Following Me was inspired by walking home one night, and a friend of mine had a bag snatched from her, and the cop told us that he was at least following us for like 10 blocks or so, and something about being followed really creeps me out. These are installation shots. So I had a show at Gallery Pen and Brush, which is on East 22nd Street. So I do like installations with them, and then they also paired the photographs or the self-portraits with them as well. This was a performance that I did outside of Fashion Week one year when I was completely uninvited. And this was like an introduction to performance and how I didn't put myself in the performances yet, but I'm like dipping my feet in the medium of performance art. So I also do commissions with the coats. So this is something You've Been Lied to that is in Switzerland for this fashion stylist. Her name's Hannah. So the coats, I do phrases that are like one-offs that are contingent on culture at large or society. So if anyone has a subject matter that they're grappling with, or I have a bunch of phrases in my archive, let me know, and maybe we can do a piece for you. So from here, you know, I started to realize that photography isn't my only way of expressing this predators and prey phenomena. So I began really, after the idea of, we'll get back here, after the idea of being hunted and predation and wearing these furs, I started thinking about sex trafficking. I started thinking about abduction. I started thinking about my personal fears and my paranoias and dreams that I've had, and how this is really affecting me. So AM to PM is a performance video where my partner actually abducts me in various different situations throughout New York. So I'll show you just like one sneak peek, because it's 4 minutes and 35 seconds long, not all on my website, but so it's quite brutal, but how it was installed was really fascinating, because at Pen and Brush I had 3 different monitors, and it was in a basically a storage closet. So they took all the chairs out that they usually store in there, and then we put my video in there. And in some scenes I'm completely fine, some scenes I'm not. And your back is quite literally against the wall in viewing this. And you have the claustrophobic kind of feeling around you when you're watching it. She Was Last Seen is a project that I was doing because I started researching missing persons cases, and I started noticing the repeated language in them. And She Was Last Seen was something that really stood out to me. It's also a phrase that connotes no idea or no concept of hope. Usually anything following this phrase is found dead or continues to be unsolved. And I like to put it depends where the mattresses are and if I have, the muscle at the time to move them, but I like to put them in places of transit where people have to quite literally be disrupted and walk around them and really see them and grapple with them. So, and then this is kind of me in action here. People are like, what is she doing? So pairing this on a mattress too is connoting, so many things. Sex trafficking, rape, sexual assault. And it's kind of brutal in the way that I write it, and it's supposed to be that way. Open secrets. So these are large photographic prints. So the Catholic priests abused 1,000 children in PA, report says. The nicest person you will ever meet, the sociopath or the psychopath. And this is repeated language found in missing persons cases with an ocean that is overlaid it, because more than often than we know are these cases just swept under the rug or taken out to sea, and we never hear about them ever again. This is an installation view. Instructions for commuters is a sequence of directions that I like to think I would do, that I've concocted in my mind if I were ever to be abducted by a cab driver. Because so often do I think in New York City, do we step into the cars with complete strangers with this idea of being brought to our desired destination. So this is an installation view. I also wrote them down because I think, an art piece can exist in multiple forms. So this was like more of a textual piece where I placed it in the backs of Ubers and cabs outside. Brown Hair, Brown Eyes is a performance that I did at Pen and Brush so my partner in the abduction video, we actually did the abduction video, but live. So this was like one of the biggest and most insane things I've ever done in my life. Because, I basically wrote these mini scenes and we acted them out. And this performance is also talking about the idea of help. And when a crime goes down or when we see something going down, who is reluctant to help and who isn't? And I even included the audience at moments, and I would yell at them because none of them helped me. So coming back to the Predator banner. So this is the newest work I've done. I've been documenting the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell case for a while now, like months. And if people don't know, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are serial sex traffickers and pedophiles that have deep, deep ties in our political and social systems. So I wanted to, and it's also a phenomenon that's been going on for God knows how long. So I wanted to bring that to light even more. So I wrote Epstein is the worst kind of virus. And I began walking back in site-specific places where Ghislaine and Jeffrey would walk. There's something interesting to me about going back to a scene of a crime or a place where something brutal happened or someone walked. This was the banner on ABC News, which was really exciting. I do self-portraiture with the banner. This is, July 4th. This is the Columbus Circle statue that you actually could not even get near now because it's barricaded. But, looking at this picture, a couple weeks after I took it, I was realizing that, abuse and predation is not only embedded in our history of America, but it's celebrated. There has to be someone that stands for that. This is his residency in the Upper East Side. We're just on the surface. Central Park, where Ghislaine would often stroll to recruit young women to bring back to the Upper East Side mansion. I went to the Met. So you get the idea. So I will bring you to the COVID work that I've been doing as well. So I've been really looking at the, in conjunction with this predatorial, like hard-hitting, really dark but truthful stuff, I'm also kind of like balancing it out by photographing, the landscape of New York City and also Minneapolis, because I went there this past June, because I'm realizing that, in order to find the truth, you have to really put your body in the place that you seek it. So, I go outside after protests are done. I'm documenting, I'm looking at it, I'm seeing what's gone, what's changed. I'm recognizing textual elements and advertisements and how they're shifting meaning because of the context of the times and what that means. Deliciously fun stands right above police officers pre-protest and reporters that are ready to capture it, and I'm just like, fun for who, AutoZone in Minneapolis, completely dismantled. This is an overview of Minneapolis, so you can check these out. With everything else, I'm working on a documentary film called "Who Was Behind the Mask," and it is a film that was originally about the coronavirus in New York City, but it also has expanded to Minneapolis and is also unveiling these other social injustices that are going on during this time. So portraiture is something that's like near and dear to me. Like if I could just, be an editorial, portraiture photographer for the rest of my life, like that would be amazing. Because it's such like it's a mini bond between people. It's a really special collaboration between photographer, camera, and subject. And I'm always thinking about the camera, as a weapon, and the camera as as access to people that I would never normally have. And sometimes I give my subjects, like here, a disposable camera to photograph me photographing them. So it levels out the power dynamic in the photographer-subject relationship, because that's something I'm really thinking about, and when I photograph protests or when I photograph movements, I'm wondering my place, and I'm being very, very cautious. And it's a space where I can encourage empathy and I can have a dialogue. Portraiture is like so special to me, and it's something I hold like near and dear in my heart. And then you can see there's it's a virus one. This is like the landscape of New York back in March. So I have, a bunch of work. I'm really like this mix between this like anthropologist and a journalist, and I'm just really trying to seek the truth and be as authentic as possible. If anyone has any questions or wants to talk about any work that maybe I didn't get to, please let me know. But this has been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so we'll open it up. You've got a couple of comments here so far. We are at just right on 8 o'clock, so we'll want to move to Miles in just a second. But Dave Markey is saying, Katelyn, it's cool how, in a way, you were stalking Epstein and Maxwell by tracking their movements, and then the frustration is that it's too late to track them down. Samantha says your work is so incredible. Dorothea is still on. Dorothea says, thanks again. I hope to receive the recording. I have to go. All right, so she did go. Thanks again for orchestrating this. Quite welcome, Dorothea, if you're still on. We do have time for just a couple of questions for Katelyn. So does anybody have any questions in particular that you want to ask before we move along? Type them into chat if you do, and then I'll call on you. Meredith does. Go, Meredith.
Yeah, Meredith.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I have a question on Faces Behind the Mask.
Sure.
When you are taking their portrait, do you just meet them at, where they are? What draws you to them? Do you just find tell me about that process.
Sure. Yeah, so it ranges. So because I was doing interviews for the film, so some interviews were set up with people that I knew, and then some interviews were by like complete strangers. So it's really like luck of the draw. Like we'll just go up to people and I'll like talk to them, and it's interesting because some people are like, oh, I'm like, oh, you want to be interviewed? We're doing a film about the coronavirus. And some people are like, oh, you won't like what I have to say about that. And we're like, yeah, let's talk. And then, there's people that I interviewed that I didn't photograph afterwards. There has to be something really, there's something about the people that I choose to, take portraits of in this series that just like something draws me to them. If it's like how like what they're wearing or what they said in the interview or the color of their eyes or, and it's something that I always want to capture someone like with justice, and I'm shooting them with 120 film. So I try to like do just that. But it's quite difficult. But, I usually like engage in dialogue. I have conversation with them. I try to meet someone at their energy level and I try to be fast. I don't want to like, consume someone's time so much. But really like getting someone to talk and open up is like really like my goal when I take portraits.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, good deal. And Hannah has a question. Take it away, Hannah.
Hey, thank you so much, Katelyn. That was absolutely amazing to see. Really appreciate you sharing.
Oh, thank you.
You said something that I wrote down actually because I really liked it. I'll send it to you if you like it. You said in order to find the truth, you have to put your body in the place that you seek it. I wonder how much of your own truth are you seeking to uncover when you're visiting these other locations? Stories of, use the word brutality a lot, stories outside of yourself that you're putting your body into. How much of your own truth are you seeking when you're doing this kind of work? And also, I guess the question that I'm kind of projecting in there is like, whose truth are you looking for?
Right. So it's tricky, right? Like where does the truth lie? So I think really what I'm trying to do there is, witnessing it like with my own eyes rather than reading about it, rather than seeing a photograph of it. Like what is in the area that is misrepresented or what was in the area that wasn't seen. What kind of energy does the area have? Not to sound like hippy dippy, but there's something that resides in spaces. And I think it's really telling, it's all in the details. So I don't think it's, I try to make, we could have like a long philosophical conversation about truth. It's so loaded, but I really just try to make something as authentic as possible. And I even do this when I capture, portraits. Like I want it to be as authentic and genuine, and I want people to feel comfortable. I don't want the camera to kind of feel like this like mechanism that is a weapon in a way. Like I'm very aware of the mechanics and the how I'm speaking to someone, how I'm moving around in the space. If that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. And I would love to chat with you more. I do work a lot on truth and somatics and how you gain access to that. So we can talk more.
Sure thing.
Excellent. All right. So there's one more comment. Lewis says, no questions. Just want to say that your work is really important. So, and Jude says, tremendously powerful and moving work.